Jason Mallory wasn't exactly a thrill seeker. He was a washed-up documentary filmmaker in his late 30s, trying to claw his way back from obscurity. Once known for a modestly successful short film on abandoned Cold War bunkers, he now spent most of his time scrolling conspiracy forums and watching Urbex videos for inspiration. It had been 3 years since he'd made anything meaningful. That's when the map showed up in his inbox. It was sent from an encrypted Proton Mail account, simply titled, The Forgotten Line. Attached was a grainy scanned subway blueprint marked with red X's and strange annotations. Bay Ridge, condemned in 1979, but lights reported in 2016. Whispering heard in Track 3 Junction, unverified. Do not enter North Terminal. Doors locked from inside. Beneath that, a typed note. The line exists, Jason. It was never meant for public transport. Don't go alone. Jason should have deleted it. Instead, he printed it, highlighted it, and pinned it to his wall. By week's end, he had assembled a crew. Sasha Tran, an audio tech with a background in paranormal investigation. Blunt, skeptical, and perpetually surrounded by buzzing microphones. Noel Park, urban explorer and ex-MTA intern who knew the underground better than anyone. A twitchy guy, but smart. Diego Rivas, cameraman and drone operator, calm under pressure. Didn't talk much, but his footage always caught the right moment. Jason, of course, the so-called director, who had more doubt than confidence. But something about the map felt different. Real. They met at a cafe in Brooklyn, whispering over blueprints and faded station schematics. The entry point, they agreed, would be through a sealed utility access in the old Cortlandt station, shut since the 60s and supposedly buried in renovation dust. But Noel swore he'd found a weak grate leading to a bypass tunnel. They chose Friday night. 1:13 a.m. Fewer patrols, no maintenance crews, nothing but echoes. The entrance was exactly as Noel promised. Behind a crumbling wall of plywood in an unused stairwell lay a rusted service door covered in graffiti. Sasha picked the lock in under 30 seconds. People really don't want you in here, she muttered, flicking on her headlamp. They slipped inside, one by one, their boots crunching on debris. Behind them, Diego turned and sealed the door. The air changed instantly. Still, thick and wrong. It smelled of mold, copper, and something sourer like old meat left too long in heat. Noel pulled out a handheld radio and scanned through frequencies. Static, static, then a blip. Inbound, terminal closed, signal lost. He froze. You heard that, right? Jason nodded. We all did. The tunnel stretched farther than any of them expected. It wasn't in MTA maps past a certain point. The steel walls looked older than the rest of the system, curved like an early 20th century build, with rivets and flaking signage in outdated fonts. And then they saw it. The station. Half buried in shadow, it looked like a relic from another era. A crumbling sign read, Cyprus Terminal, but the letters were smeared, almost melted. Dust-coated benches, shattered vending machines, and eerie silence greeted them. Jason's flashlight passed over the tracks and then flickered. Battery's dying, he muttered. But it wasn't. All their lights dimmed together, like something was siphoning their power. Sasha set up an omnidirectional mic at the platform edge while Diego launched a drone down the tunnel. The feed was grainy. Beyond 60 feet, the walls began to ripple like light distortion underwater. Jason felt sick watching it. Then the whisper came. At first it sounded like feedback, then clearer. Still down here. Keep the doors closed. Can't breathe right. The clocks are all wrong. The whisper wasn't coming from the mic. It came from the walls. Noel backed up, eyes wide. There's no power here. None. I cut this entire section from the grid back in 2017. This isn't possible. And then, over the intercom system, crackling, ancient, and strained. Last train arriving. Please stand clear of the platform edge. There were no tracks active, no trains scheduled. But something was coming. They felt the rumble first. Headlights emerged from the far tunnel. Dimensoys yellowed, flickering. A rusted subway car screeched into the station, dragging sparks and debris. The windows were black. The doors didn't open. Everyone stood frozen. "No one touch it," Jason said. "No one go near it." But Diego stepped forward, camera rolling. The train doors opened. Inside, the cabin was spotless. Perfect. Too perfect. A mannequin sat in the conductor's seat. No head, just a hollow stump leaking black tar onto the floor. They backed away. "Next stop." "Nowhere," the intercom said. Then, without warning, the doors slammed shut and the train disappeared, not down the tunnel, but into the darkness itself, as if the wall had eaten it whole. Back at the platform, panic set in. "We leave." "Now," Sasha said. "This isn't a story. This is some kind of death trap." But Noel was pale, staring into his GPS. "That can't be right. We've only gone about 300 feet, but this says we're over 2 miles from our starting point and below sea level." Jason looked around. The map, the signals, the whispers. "We're staying," he said quietly. "One night. We document everything. Then we leave. If we survive this, it'll be the greatest underground story ever told." Sasha didn't like it. Diego said nothing. Noel just started to cry. And above them, a digital clock flickered into existence on the platform wall. 13:13. Time wasn't working right anymore. The Echo. The crew set up camp inside the broken terminal. Jason paced while Diego checked his drone feed again, replaying the footage of the vanishing train. It wasn't an optical illusion. The last frame clearly showed the train entering the tunnel, then nothing. Frame after frame of blackness, not even static. Sasha sat cross-legged with her headphones on, sweeping the frequency range. "There's a low hum," she muttered, "below human hearing threshold. It's like it's embedded in the walls." Jason moved to a cracked tiled wall and pressed his hand to it. It was vibrating ever so slightly. "We need to document everything," he said. "Whatever's going on down here, it's ancient, or alien, or both." Diego raised a brow. "You sure you're not just happy to have something to film again?" Jason didn't answer. The tunnel fork. The map showed 2 directions from Cyprus Terminal, east and north. The east tunnel was partially collapsed. The north one stretched endlessly, covered in rusted signs that looked hand-painted. Noel scanned the air quality. "Still breathable, but trace methane spikes. Stay off the tracks." They walked in silence, flashlights flickering. The walls began to sweat, a thin sheen of moisture that hadn't been there minutes ago. Mold thickened. The floor sloped downward. After 30 minutes, they reached a fork. One tunnel was sealed with a heavy metal door welded shut. A message was etched into the metal. "Beneath this gate, the keeper waits." Sasha shook her head. "Nope, no way." They took the left tunnel. The first shadow. The left tunnel had graffiti from the 1980s, crumbling benches, and a sign reading, "Track 6J, Experimental Access." Suddenly, Diego stopped. "Did you hear that?" The others turned. A low moan echoed behind them. They spun their lights back, but saw nothing. "Let's move," Jason whispered. They reached a maintenance room filled with rusted tools and disconnected cables. One panel was still lit, flashing a single word. "Wait." As they watched, the letters changed. UHO. Then, with. Finally, U. Sasha unplugged her recorder. "Something's talking through the power grid." Then, just outside the room, a figure passed by in total silence. It didn't walk, it glided. Surveillance. They huddled in the room, reviewing camera footage. Frame by frame, the shadow figure had no feet. It cast no light, and its head was bent at a perfect 90-degree angle, face turned toward the ground. "Why does it look familiar?" Noel asked. Jason zoomed in. It had his face. "I want out," Noel whispered. I didn't sign up for this. but the GPS still showed them moving, even while standing still. The map was glitching, distances expanding, and worst of all, the exit tunnel was gone. From their live map, they doubled back, walked for 30 minutes. When they returned to the fork, it was still there, but the messages had changed. On the welded gate, the keeper sees. Sasha pulled Jason aside. This isn't space, it's time. These tunnels are shifting, folding back. We're caught in a loop. Jason looked pale. Then how do we break it? Behind them, a subway speaker screeched to life. Track 6J departure in 2 minutes. No one had activated it, and far down the tunnel, the lights flickered on, one by one. Something was coming. They ran, the faces in the wall. They reached another platform 1 not marked on any map. The sign read simply, exit. But the walls were wrong. Faces, dozens of faces, pressed into the concrete like trapped souls. Eyes closed, mouths open in frozen screams. Diego whispered, "These are real." Jason touched one. It opened its eyes. They sprinted toward the exit platform, climbed stairs that bent in impossible angles, past advertisements in dead languages, and finally reached a metal door labeled, "Emergency, do not open." They opened it anyway. The room with no ceiling inside was a vast chamber lit by a hanging bulb, but when they looked up, there was no ceiling, just sky. Not New York's, something else, wrong constellations. A second moon, floating debris like space junk caught mid-collapse. At the far end, a train sat quietly. Old, black, not rusted but pristine, engraved on its side, greater than Maum, property of the station keeper. And then, it opened its doors. The train doors slid open with a metallic groan. A cold wind rolled out, carrying a scent of rust, ozone, and something faintly floral but dead. Jason was the first to step inside. The interior was immaculate, polished metal rails, plush seats, and glowing amber lights that didn't flicker. No grime, no decay. Sasha and Noel hesitated, exchanging nervous glances. "Keep your cameras rolling," Jason urged. At the far end of the car sat a figure in a conductor's uniform, head bowed, hands folded. When Jason approached, the figure raised a head, but no face. Instead, a smooth, mirror-like surface reflected Jason's terrified expression back at him. Diego whispered, "It's like it's seeing us, or through us." Suddenly, the train lurched forward without warning. The windows outside showed impossible landscapes, endless tunnels twisting into fractal patterns, cities dissolving into shadows, skies swirling with stars that blinked in and out. Sasha monitored the equipment, but her instruments read chaos, nothing consistent. Noel gripped a handrail, white-knuckled. "This isn't a train," he said. "It's a trap." Figures appeared in the seats, translucent, shimmering shadows wearing old-fashioned clothes. They didn't speak or move, but their eyes followed the crew. Jason's voice trembled. "Are those ghosts?" One shadow turned sharply toward him, and a whisper echoed in the car. "Not ghosts. The forgotten." The conductor's mirror face cracked, revealing a deep void inside. A voice, hollow and echoing, filled the car. "Those who stray from the line shall never return. The keeper watches. The keeper waits." The lights flickered violently. Jason reached for his camera, but it died. Dead battery. No warning. Suddenly, the train jolted as it entered a shimmering rift in the tunnel walls. The crew was thrown to the floor. When they got up, the world outside the windows was gone, replaced by black nothingness. No stars, no light. "Where are we?" Sasha whispered. A voice came from the shadows of the car. "You are beneath the city, beneath the world, beneath time." The train screeched to a halt. The doors opened again, revealing a stairway descending into infinite darkness. Jason looked back at his friends. "This is where the story really begins." They stepped off. The stairway descended endlessly into blackness, the walls pulsing faintly with a wet, organic rhythm. Every step echoed hollowly, Yet somewhere deeper, there was silence. Absolute silence. Jason led the way, flashlight beam cutting through the void, but even the light seemed to dim as they went deeper. Sasha clutched her audio recorder tightly. This place, it's alive. At the bottom, the stairwell opened into a vast cavern, filled with tangled steel tracks, disappearing into darkness on all sides. Signs hung from the ceiling, warped and twisted. Lost passage. Return not. Final stop. Noel's eyes darted nervously. Maps don't cover this. Nothing we've seen before. They moved forward, every sound amplified. Drip of water, distant scraping, something breathing. Shadows flickered just beyond the light's reach, whispering unintelligible words. Diego's drone buzzed low, skimming the tracks ahead. Suddenly, it froze, then plummeted silently into the darkness. Sasha's microphone caught a chilling phrase. Stay with us. Stay forever. Panic surged. They stumbled onto a platform cracked and buckled, covered in graffiti and old posters, torn and faded. One poster caught Jason's eye, a photograph of a smiling family with the words, Last Ride, June 13th, 1979. Below the photo, someone had scribbled, They never left. A crackling voice echoed over the speakers, distant yet everywhere. The line is endless. The line is death. Turn back or be mine. Jason swallowed hard. We can't turn back now. Noel shook his head. We don't know what's waiting for us down here. It's not a story. It's a nightmare. Sasha added, but if we don't face it, it'll spread. Jason nodded grimly. We press on. Together. As they ventured deeper, the tunnels twisted impossibly, the air growing colder. Behind them, the stairway they came down vanished, replaced by a solid wall of steel. They were trapped. The crew pressed forward, stepping into a dimly lit train carriage that seemed to pulse with an eerie life. The seats were occupied by shadowy figures, their faces blurred as if caught between memories and oblivion. Jason's camera flickered, struggling to capture the shifting forms. Sasha leaned closer to one figure. It turned its head slowly, revealing hollow eyes that seemed to pull at her soul. Diego whispered, They're not alive, but they aren't dead either. A low hum filled the carriage, growing louder, coalescing into whispers that seemed to seep from the walls themselves. Remember, 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 Noel shivered. What do they want? Suddenly, images flashed across the windows, fragments of lives long past, laughter in the streets, lovers' quarrels, children playing beneath a sky of fire. Jason realized these were memories trapped, echoes of those who never escaped. A cold breeze swept through the carriage, extinguishing their lights. In the darkness, a voice, cold and relentless. You carry their stories now. Do not forget or join them. Panic surged as the shadows closed in, tendrils reaching out, trying to pull them into the walls. Jason fought back tears. We have to move, now. As they fled the carriage, Sasha caught a final glimpse of a young girl's face, eyes wide with terror, mouthing a silent plea. They sprinted down the corridor, hearts pounding, into the unknown darkness beyond. The darkness swallowed them whole as they plunged deeper into the labyrinth. The walls closed in, rough and wet, dripping with unseen moisture. Every step echoed with a hollow clang. Jason's flashlight flickered, struggling against the black. The tracks beneath their feet twisted and stretched in impossible directions. Some ended abruptly, plunging into pits of shadow. Others curved back on themselves in endless loops. Noel stared at the map on his phone, completely scrambled. Whispers returned, low and urgent. Return, return, return. Sasha tried to record, but her device emitted static. Suddenly, a distant whistle pierced the silence, growing louder. They froze as a train barreled through the tunnel, metal screeching, lights blazing, but it passed through them, intangible as smoke. Diego gasped, It's a ghost train. The same hollow voice echoed again. You wander the line that death forgot. Leave or be lost forever. Jason clenched his fists. We're not leaving until we find out what this place is. Ahead, a faint light flickered, like a lantern's glow in the distance. They ran toward it, hope rising. The light led them into a vast underground chamber, walls covered in rusted machinery and glowing sigils etched deep into the metal. At the center stood a pedestal with an ancient book, its pages yellowed and brittle. Jason reached for it. Jason's fingers trembled as he opened the fragile book. The pages were filled with strange symbols that shifted and changed under his gaze. Sasha peered over his shoulder. It's like it's alive. The text described the origin of the tunnels, built over a forgotten city, haunted by souls trapped between worlds. A warning echoed repeatedly. The keeper guards the line. Disrespect brings doom. Diego spotted a series of drawings depicting a ritual, lighting candles, speaking incantations, sealing doors. Noel wondered aloud, could this be how to escape? Suddenly the chamber grew cold. The shadows thickened, coalescing into a tall figure cloaked in darkness. The keeper's voice was a whisper that filled the room. You should not be here. Panicked, the crew scattered, the keeper's presence looming behind them like a suffocating fog. Jason called out, "We have to stick together." Sasha remembered the ritual from the book and began chanting, lighting candles they found scattered around. The keeper howled, retreating as the chamber brightened. With the final word spoken, a portal shimmered open. Jason grabbed his friends. "This is our chance!" They plunged through. They tumbled through the shimmering portal, disoriented and breathless. Blinding light engulfed them, then faded to reveal a quiet subway platform bathed in warm morning sun. The air smelled fresh. Birds chirped overhead. The chaos of the underground was gone. Jason looked around. We're back. But something was off. The station was empty. No other commuters. The screens displayed dates decades in the future. Noel touched a pillar. It pulsed under his fingers. Sasha's recorder crackled to life, playing back faint voices, echoes of their journey underground. Diego whispered, "Did we really escape? Or is this another layer?" Suddenly, the familiar, hollow voice whispered one last time, "The line never ends." The keeper waits. Jason clenched his jaw. "We survived, but we've got to warn others. This place is alive." As they stepped onto a waiting train, the doors closed behind them. Outside the window, the tunnels stretched infinitely once more. The last train to nowhere was still running. And